He played every day. The computer stood in the same room where the one who hadn't yet turned 2 months old slept. As would later come to light, it was precisely this detail, the placement, the proximity, the constant sound, that would become part of what happened 59 days later. But no one knew that yet. September 2016, Barnaul, Железнodorожny district. A small celebration was taking place at the local civil registry office. The young couple was being congratulated because their firstborn had become the 1,000th registered in the district that year. A milestone number, a nice occasion for a photograph and a few warm words from the administration. The father, Andrei Mironov, barely past 20, worked as a welder. In the photo, he's smiling, his wife beside him.
Together, they looked like a perfectly ordinary young family. Nothing remarkable, no particular wealth, no grand ambitions, just two people who had their first person together. And that person happened to fall into a statistic, became a round number for some report. Probably one of the officials said the standard words about demographics, about the future, about how every new person is a hope. Andrei Mironov accepted the congratulations, posed for the photo, and went home. At home, that very computer and that very game he sat down to every evening were waiting for him. From this moment, the countdown begins. In 59 days, the one being congratulated right now would not live to see 1 day short of 2 months. And the cause of that outcome would be the one who is now smiling in the photo next to her. The call to the ambulance came from Mironov himself. His voice on the recording sounded alarmed. "She's unwell, not responding, need help." The dispatcher logged the call and relayed the address to the crew. It was November 2016, 2 months after that very celebration. The medics arrived quickly, but there was no one left to help. What they saw at the scene didn't fit the picture of became unwell at all. On the head, traces of injuries. On the face and shoulders, distinctive marks as if someone had squeezed hard. This was not illness and not an accident. The doctors immediately called the police. Mironov was at home. His wife was not there. As would later be established, she had gone to the store at that moment and returned to find the vehicles already parked outside the building. Investigators began examining the apartment and documented the scene. The computer in the room and next to it, literally a couple of meters away, the crib. At first glance, nothing unusual, an ordinary home of an ordinary family. But the one who had been congratulated 2 months ago was lying motionless. She was 59 days old. Mironov was detained that same evening, and a criminal case was opened. From this point, the investigation had to answer a question that none of the people who arrived could wrap their heads around. How could a father do something like this to the one who had only just come into the world?
The investigation started with the basics, finding out who these people were and how they lived before that evening. They interviewed neighbors, relatives, acquaintances. They studied Mironov's social media page. The picture that emerged from these testimonies looked completely ordinary. A young family, their first year together, a rented apartment in the Железнодорожny district. Nothing alarming, no complaints, no scandals, no calls to the local officer. But one fact kept surfacing in the testimonies again and again, and the investigation took note of it. Mironov was into the computer game World of Tanks. It's an online tank battle simulator, a popular thing with millions of players. For most people, it's a harmless evening hobby, a way to unwind after work. But for Mironov, judging by the testimonies, it was the main activity during any free time. His wife took care of the one who appeared in September. Friends, because YouTube is very sensitive about the true crime topic, we are forced to censor words in exactly this way. We cannot say those very words you're thinking of right now directly, so please forgive us. You'll have to listen in this format.
We're trying very hard for you. Thank you so much for staying with us. His wife took care of the one who appeared in September, practically around the clock, fed, put to sleep, got up during the night. Mironov helped little, and when his wife needed to go to the store or run some errands, she left her with him. Not for long, half an hour, maybe an hour. In these moments, Mironov invariably sat down at the computer. He confirmed this himself, and his wife confirmed the same. Investigator Denis Brozhnikov would later describe the scene in the case files: the father at the monitor, the crib nearby. What exactly happened during those half hours while the mother was at the store and the father was in the game? The answer to that question the investigation would receive later, and it would turn out to be more terrifying than anyone could have imagined. At 2 months, a person can do practically nothing besides the most basic things: eat, sleep, and cry. And crying is the only way to communicate any discomfort: hunger, a wet diaper, colic, simply the need for warmth and presence. All of this is expressed the same way: loudly, insistently, without pauses.
For most parents, this is simply part of life. You get up, check, soothe, sometimes with irritation, sometimes already on autopilot, but you do it because it's your choice and your responsibility. The question that faced the investigation was fairly simple. What did Mironov do when crying came from the crib? He was sitting at the computer. A battle was on the screen. Tanks, allies, opponents, all of it demands attention, reaction, engagement. And right at such a moment, from the crib just a couple of meters away, a scream rings out. What next? The investigation would learn from his own testimony. That testimony would become the key element of the entire case. Mironov described in detail how everything happened during those moments when his wife left the house. He was sitting at the computer and a battle was on the screen. In online games, that's exactly how it works. Leave the battle, let down the team, lose points, ruin your stats. For a dedicated player, all of this matters, sometimes even more than one would like to admit. And at that very moment, crying comes from the crib. At first quiet, then louder, then anguished, demanding, continuous. A scream that evolution made unbearable on purpose, so that an adult couldn't ignore it. Mironov would look away from the screen, get up, pick her up, and try to rock her, the way all parents do. Walk around the room, sway gently, wait for her to calm down. But it didn't help. The crying continued. Maybe her stomach hurt. Maybe she wanted to eat. Maybe she simply needed a mother's warmth, not the hands of a person whose mind was still in a tank battle. Mironov got angry. He admitted this during the interrogation as well. Not right away, but he admitted it. The irritation grew with every minute. The battle on the screen continued on its own, already without him, and the one lying in his arms was screaming and showed no sign of stopping. And here's what a normal person does in that situation: keeps rocking, checks the diaper, tries giving a pacifier, calls his wife. In the end, simply endures, because it's his choice and his responsibility. Mironov chose differently. He found a way to make her go quiet. The investigation established the mechanism of what was happening in the apartment when Mironov was left alone. He described it himself during interrogation. On the record, Investigator Denis Brozhnikov would later describe this pattern in the case files, horrifying precisely in its simplicity. When the crying wouldn't stop and rocking didn't help, Mironov struck her on the head with his palm, not with a fist, but with an open palm. He probably thought it wasn't a real strike, that it was just a way to soothe, that an open palm wasn't that serious. It's important to understand one thing. A head at 2 months, these are soft, unfused skull bones, the fontanelle, a brain that is still only forming. There is none of the protection that an adult has. Any sudden impact is already an injury. Any strike is damage. But Mironov either didn't know this or simply didn't think about it in that moment. After the strike, she would go quiet and stop screaming. She may have lost consciousness. The forensic examination would establish this later. For Mironov, to result was one thing: silence. He could return to the monitor, he could continue the battle, and that's exactly what he did. He sat back down at the computer, put on his headphones, and went back to the game. And in the crib lay the one he had just struck. Quiet, motionless, with an injury he didn't want to think about.
His wife would return from the store and see a calm scene. Husband at the computer, silence in the crib. No questions. This went on for some time, and exactly how long, 97, the investigation would establish through the forensic examination results. But on that November day, things went differently. After yet another strike, she didn't just go quiet. Friends, and you can watch the continuation of this video right here.